In this video, I'm going to be talking about how violence against women is viewed much differently than violence against men. In particular, I'm going to be mainly focusing on the violence in television, movies, and video games.
From Moonstruck to Shakespeare in Love to Pirates of the Caribbean, women hitting men may be a Hollywood staple.
First, let's take a look at how violence against women is being viewed. Take a look at this AIDS awareness ad. It's all men infecting women with AIDS. Obviously, they are trying to say that infecting someone with AIDS is just like shooting them. Some feminists would say that, oh, this commercial is promoting violence against women. Really? How? Clearly, they are portraying this type of violence in a negative way. They are saying that it is a bad thing to shoot a female or infect them with AIDS. It's how the violence is being portrayed that's the real point here. This commercial only vilifies men by making them look like the bad, murderous guys. Then there's this violence against women commercial which airs in Australia.
I got really angry and I just gave her a slap. You know, stuff happens. But she knows, I mean, she deserved it.
Kept going, you know, the next minute she says I forced her. But, you know, it was too late. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, I know this bloke, and we all know he hits his girlfriend. Never in front of people, but she won't do anything. You know, I can't say anything, can I?
Well, you just lose control sometimes. It's only shoving and stuff. It's not like I'm one of those blokes who beats up on a woman.
Well, she came back to my place and she knew what we were there for. And then like halfway through she says no, but I kept going and...
This behaviour is not just unacceptable, it's criminal.
Again, they are portraying only men as the perpetrators of violence and only women as the innocent victims, despite the fact that a man can very well be a victim of domestic violence too. This needs more recognition. Domestic violence happens to men too, but many men are afraid to report it because it doesn't get taken as seriously. It's a vicious cycle, really, and it's all because men are viewed as inherently guilty.
To violence against women, Australia says no.
Ah, really? And what does Australia have to say about violence against men? That it's okay? Or that it must have been justified? Like in this commercial where all these men are at the hospital because they got their wives or girlfriends a Christmas gift that they didn't like. Yes, violence against women is a big no-no, even if it may be in self-defense. But it's somehow justified for a woman to put a man in a hospital because he got her a Christmas present that she didn't like. It's the man's fault because he bought something for her. In a nutshell, a woman can hit a man for any reason, no matter how ridiculous the reason may be. But a man can never hit a woman, no matter what. Have you ever played the video game Final Fight? And I loved that game when I was a kid. A long while back, I discovered something pretty interesting. There were originally 2 female members of the Mad Gear gang, named Roxy and Poison. But the version you played probably didn't have them. Instead, you saw the characters Sid and Billy. So even though there were only 2 female fighters and the rest were male, they still had to replace the 2 female characters with men. None of the other characters were changed. Apparently, we don't want to offend any women by having any violence against female video game characters that don't even exist. Oh wait, they did keep a female character in the game, Jessica, who is Hagar's daughter and Cody's girlfriend, and the one we're trying to rescue. Ah, I see. So it's okay to fight for a female, but it's not okay to actually fight a female gang member in self-defense because she is trying to beat you up. So the main issue here wasn't that the game should be banned because of the violence. The issue was the violence against the 2 female characters. In other words, violence against women, even if it's only 2 video game characters, is unacceptable. But violence against men, even if there's 50 of them, is permissible. It's funny how you hear feminists complain, oh, women are underrepresented in this and that. But if they are underrepresented in violent video games, there are somehow too many females. Not only is violence against men just acceptable, in many cases, it is viewed as funny or entertaining. Violence against men, and only men, would ever be portrayed in a positive light. Just get a load of these reactions.
Well.
Yes, he's married. You rat!
Of course the reaction for him getting slapped around would be laughter. But imagine if you were to reverse the gender roles here, or even if it was a bunch of women slapping around another woman. Then it would be considered horrible. The reaction certainly wouldn't be laughter in that case. Another thing I've noticed is that on those cop dramas, only male criminals seem to be the ones who are tackled or slammed against a wall before they are arrested. Women are handled with much more care on shows like that. Then we have the Allstate commercials. This guy apparently represents mayhem and he's always getting himself hurt. These commercials aren't trying to make us feel bad for this guy, no. They are showing him getting hurt as a form of entertainment. Do you think they'd ever have any of this stuff happen to a female? No, they would never do that. But it's fine to have a man represent a deer that gets run over by a car.
I'm out here eating leaves and whatnot when I come across this road, and I'm like, what is this thing? That's when you come around the bend and I freeze in your headlights, because that's what we deer do.
Falling off a tree and smashing through a car.
Shaky, shaky.
Falling off a house and smashing through a car. And doing stupid stuff and causing wrecks.
Now, I'm just holding on by a thread.
You know, the hardest thing about making these types of videos is having to watch all of the misandry and violence against men being portrayed as acceptable, justified, or even entertaining. It really makes me sick. But my work needs to be done because this is the unsettling reality, whether we like it or not. This one is no exception. A female whacking tennis balls at men and the men getting hurt. Imagine the horrific reaction there would be if it was a male tennis player whacking tennis balls at females. Ugh, the violence against men is the open wound, and the fact that it's portrayed in a positive way is the salt on the open wound. Take a look at this progressive commercial. A woman is on a voodoo website and clicking on things so that she can harm her cheating boyfriend. First of all, it's always men who have the reputation for being cheaters, as if women never cheat. But even if a woman cheated, any violence to them would still be uncalled for. It's like if men ever did something wrong, it's okay to hurt them, they deserve it. But a woman could do the same thing, or worse, but hitting them would be out of the question. Either think the violence is acceptable for both genders, or unacceptable for both genders. It shouldn't be just acceptable for one, but not the other. Enough with the double standards. Speaking of cheaters, there's this movie called The Boston Girls. It's about two girls who murder cheating men. Here are some clips from the trailer.
Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. No, he's a fucking douchebag.
I thought I told you not to hang around that scumbucket bar anymore. Drunken husbands who cheat on their wives hang out there. I say kill them all. They all deserve to die.
Holy shit!
It seems as though the only connecting factor between all the victims is that they are all confirmed cheating men.
Oh, you're making it sound like the murders were justified. If there is a movie where a man is killing only women, it would be horrible. But when they make a movie where females are killing only men, then they somehow come off like they are the heroes. And the men are just getting their just desserts. Murder for cheating. That makes everything even Steven, doesn't it?
That, you know, sometimes bad things happen to good people, but then sometimes bad things happen to assholes, and that's why they invented justifiable homicide, right? It's like Lorena Bobbitt. Obviously, she was right?
It's amazing how the general public can stomach brutal violence against men more than they can stomach any violence against women, even if it may not be as brutal. After Hostel 2 came out, many people were outraged, especially feminists, over the fact that this time they weren't afraid to show more brutal violence against women.
The gender change made me slightly uncomfortable as well.
And it's interesting that you said that you thought the change in sex this time, it was sort of, in a way,
easier to take when there were three guys.
Yeah, it's a film, you know, made by all these boys, and there's just something a little bit worrisome, I think, about this.
Yes, the violence against women was unsettling for some people. You know, the same brutal violence that was happening with the men in the first Hostel. Oh, but that's okay, because violence, torture, and murder of men is just fine. But do it to a woman, then it's a different story. Did you forget that in that very same movie, a woman cut off a man's dick? Care to make any comments on that? No, just ignore that and only focus on the violence against women. And what about other films? Movies usually portray violence against men much more brutally than violence against women. Take the movie Kingpin, for example. I guess we are to assume he was slapping her, right? But how do we know that? For all we know, maybe they were just talking and one of them was killing a bug they found on the wall. She runs out of there with no bruises or marks on her face, so we don't really know. But later in the movie, you know what we do see? Claudia beating the shit out of Roy and kicking him in the balls repeatedly. Ah, it's okay to show men getting clobbered and repeatedly kicked in the balls, but it's too horrific to see a woman getting slapped. How much sense does that make? We can see this happening from comedies like Kingpin, where the violence isn't supposed to be taken seriously, to horror movies like Urban Legend, where the violence is supposed to be taken seriously. Tara Reid gets killed. Well, supposedly, we don't really see anything, do we? So we can't really tell for sure. But we definitely see how these men in the movie died. And towards the end, only the men's dead bodies show up. Okay, so yeah, we know that in this movie some women have died and some men died too, but they kept the gore of the female deaths to a minimum, but weren't afraid to show all the gore for the male deaths. Violence against women will most likely be done behind closed doors, while violence against men is out in the open. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love these movies. Kingpin is very funny, and I like Urban Legend too. If I were to avoid all the movies that portrayed violence in this way for only men, then there really wouldn't be very many movies for me to watch. Let's take a look at one more. There's a Disney movie out called Tangled. As a Disney movie, it is classified in the animation, comedy, family genres. But let's take a look at the trailer for it.
Alone at last. Huh? Who's there? All right, listen, I didn't want to have to do this, but you leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
I don't know about you, but I find this pretty disturbing. That's right, kids. You're never too young to start learning that violence against men is something to laugh at. I think that's the most disturbing of all. In a supposedly wholesome movie like a Disney film, kids can subconsciously learn at a very young age that violence against men is a joke. Like it's something to be laughed at, not to be taken seriously. As usual, I am nowhere near finished with this topic. I will continue this in my upcoming videos. I can share plenty of horror stories of violence against men, not only in TV, commercials, and movies, but in real life as well. But what's worse is that a lot of the violence against men is just allowed to go on, even in real life. These will be one of the most difficult videos for me to do because of the disturbing content. But this issue needs our attention. And I'm getting tired of people's justification for this violence against men as,
You look guilty. I figure, well, he probably deserved it.